I never thought I would tell this story. In fact, I have tried to forget it for almost 10 years. But last night, when I woke up at 3 a.m., cold sweat running down my back, and that whispering voice ringing in my head, I knew I couldn't avoid it forever. I used to think that ghost stories about white figures standing in the rain or appearing in foggy mirrors were just things people told to scare children. I used to laugh when the villagers said, "If you see her, she's not looking for you. You're just where she needs you." But I saw her. Not in the mirror, not in my dreams, but for real, with my own eyes, in the dark, when I stood alone in the woods, the flashlight swaying in my trembling hand. I had gone too far into the forbidden forest, the place the villagers called the silent forest. They never went there after dusk. Me? I didn't believe it. I thought I was just going on a weekend getaway. A getaway from the city, away from the noise, to find a peaceful place. But what I found was the unblinking gaze of a woman dressed in white, standing still in the darkness, as if she had been waiting for me for a long time. I remember the first time I heard about the White Lady was in a small tavern in the remote village of Velstein, deep in the mountains to the north. I stopped there because it was dark, the forest path was difficult, and the innkeeper advised me not to continue. As the second glass of wine passed, I began to hear whispers. An old man, perhaps in his 80s, sat close to the fireplace, speaking in a hoarse voice, thick with cigarette smoke. They called her Helena. When she was alive, she was the wife of the local lord, betrayed, locked in a cold stone room all winter just because she dared to love another man. When she was found, her eyes were still open, her white dress was stained with blood, and her hand was still clutching a small music box. He paused for a moment, then lowered his voice. Since then, every year on the night of the new moon in early autumn, anyone who entered the forest after dusk could see her standing silently under the old elm tree, waiting for her lover to return. But if she looked up at anyone, that person would never return. I laughed. I really did. I couldn't help it. Such stories sounded more like folk tales than real warnings. But when the old man looked straight into my eyes, his gaze seemed to penetrate through time. I saw something strange, real fear. The innkeeper then quietly closed the window. Outside, the fog began to roll in, and someone whispered, "Don't call her name after dark, not even in your mind." At that time, I thought, what nonsense. What the hell is this in this day and age? But perhaps that very thought led me to the most terrible mistake of my life. I left the village the next morning, intending to just walk around the edge of the Velstein forest and return before dark. The sky was clear, the sun filtering softly through the ancient trees. The air was fresh, peaceful. So much so that I forgot the warning from the night before. By afternoon, I had lost my way. I didn't realize it until the sky began to darken and the wind changed direction. The paths I had seen in the morning seemed to disappear. The forest began to become strangely silent. No birds, no insects, only the sound of my own footsteps, heavy and lost. I turned on my flashlight. The weak, trembling light swept across the trunks, the ground covered with rotten leaves. Then I saw it, an old elm tree, so large that 4 people couldn't hug it, stood alone in a clearing. At the base of the tree was a woman. I couldn't see her face clearly at first. Her long white dress, her long black hair covering her face. She stood silently, head bowed, arms hanging limply, a damp statue in the mist. I stood there, frozen. I didn't know why I didn't run. Part of me believed that this was just a villager, someone lost like me. But with each passing second, something in the air seemed to thicken, colder, heavier. I took a step back. Dry branches snapped under my feet, and she raised her head. I swear, there was nothing special about her face. No blood, no disfigurement, but those eyes, two bottomless pits, black and cold, that seemed to suck my soul in that moment. I screamed and started running. I don't remember how long I ran. All I knew was that the flashlight beam was no longer shining clearly, and the footsteps behind me, slow but steady, were still following me, not chasing, following. I stumbled several times. My clothes were torn, my limbs were scratched. The smell of cold earth clung to my face, but I didn't stop. I thought I was going to die that night, really, until I saw light, dim, from a small wooden house in the distance. I rushed in, slammed the door, locked it, and fell to the floor, gasping for breath. The house was old and dusty, but there was a fireplace and a wooden music box on the table. I don't know why I went near it, opened it. The music played, a gentle, sad melody that was terrifying. And in that moment, I left the cabin at dawn. I could no longer see her, but the silence of the forest seemed to press down on me with every breath I took. I didn't know if I had survived, or if I had just walked out of a door and would never return. I returned to the village. No one asked why I had disappeared all night. It was as if they were used to people not coming back. I began to investigate, this time without the usual laughter. I looked through the old records in the village church, handwritten copies from nearly 200 years ago. And then I found her name, Helena Mertenfeld. She was more than just the Lord's wife. She had been a blacksmith's daughter, forced in a marriage in exchange for the village's protection from war. The man she loved was a poor soldier, killed on their wedding day. They say she went mad, but a few notes in the margins say otherwise. Helena is imprisoned in the stone tower where there is no fire in winter. She whispers every night, "I will wait until you come back." Her death was hidden. No grave, no funeral, only the music box, the only thing found in her hand when her body was discovered. I realized the legend is true, but it has never been told. She is not just a vengeful spirit demanding life. She is the oath, the waiting that never ends. And those who enter the forest, whether by accident or on purpose, if they carry the call, if they awaken that melody, will have to face the pain that has not yet been put to rest. Many years have passed since that night. I left Velstein, the forest, the wooden house, the dusty pages of books, and the name of a woman who never rests. I tried to live a normal life. The city, the job, the friends. No one knew what had happened. They just thought I had gotten lost in the woods one night and was lucky to survive. But there were no more peaceful nights. I started to dream, not of her, of the elm tree. Every time I closed my eyes, I was standing in the middle of the forest, alone in complete silence. Sometimes I heard the distant sound of a music box, sometimes a whisper in my ear, so quiet that it made my scalp tingle. Once, I woke up and saw wet footprints on the wooden floor of my hallway. I tried to forget. I really tried. But I think once you look into her eyes, once you hear that music in your head, you can never really go back. Not everyone who meets the lady in white dies. Some she lets live, to tell the story, or to take it to other places.